lived, once upon a time, in a meadow bathed in the golden glow of a never-ending summer. There lived a grasshopper named Gilly. Gilly was a vibrant fellow with a jaunty hat and a heart full of music. He believed that life was meant for singing and dancing. With every stroke of his bow, the meadow seemed to brighten. To Gilly, the idea of work was something for another day, or perhaps never at all. But just below the petals, a very different story was unfolding. Adam the ant was busy navigating the dense forest of grass blades. Adam wasn't interested in music. He wore a tiny utility belt and carried a grain of wheat 3 times his own size. He stopped for just a moment to wipe the sweat from his brow, looking toward the distant anthill that promised safety for his colony. Gilly watched him from above and hopped down, landing gracefully in front of the hard-working ant with a playful flourish of his violin. "Why so serious, my friend?" Gilly chirped. "The sun is high, the air is sweet, and you're carrying that heavy load like the world is ending." Gilly began to play a fast, upbeat tune, dancing in circles around Adam, trying to entice him to leave his work behind for a dance. Adam shook his head firmly. "I am preparing for the winter," he grunted. "You would be wise to do the same, Gilly. The cold is coming." Gilly just laughed, a sound like silver bells. "Winter, that's ages away. Look at all this food and sun. Don't waste your youth on worry." Adam didn't argue further. He simply readjusted his heavy grain and continued his diligent march, one slow step at a time. As the weeks passed, the warm summer air began to cool. The vibrant greens of the meadow turned into shades of gold, orange, and deep red. The wind grew crisp, and the flowers began to bow their heads. Yet Gilly continued his song, lounging on a drying leaf. Nearby, a long line of ants marched in perfect unison. Each one carried seeds, crumbs, and berries, moving with a singular purpose. They worked from dawn until dusk, filling their storehouses to the brim, ensuring that no one would go hungry when the frost arrived. Then, almost overnight, the first snowflake drifted down from a heavy grey sky. The autumn colours were quickly buried under a blanket of white. Winter had arrived with a vengeance. The meadow was now a silent, frozen world where nothing grew and no food could be found. Gilly was no longer singing. Shivering and weak, he searched the snow for a single blade of grass, but there was only ice. His beloved violin, once his source of pride, was now a heavy burden, partially buried in a snowdrift as he struggled to move forward. Desperate and hungry, Gilly remembered the ants. He wandered through the biting wind until he finally reached the entrance of the anthill. He found a frosted vent and peeked inside. The sight that met his eyes made his stomach growl with a fierce ache. Inside, the ants were gathered around a small hearth fire. They were warm, happy, and feasting on the golden grains they had collected. With the last of his strength, Gilly crawled to the main entrance and knocked weakly. "Please," he whispered, "is anyone there?" The door creaked open and Adam the ant looked out. His face was stern, but as he saw Gilly's condition, his eyes softened with concern. "I have no food, Adam," Gilly begged. I spent my summer singing, and now I have nothing to keep me alive. Adam sighed and stepped aside, beckoning Gilly into the warmth. We have enough to share, he said softly, but you must learn a lesson. He handed Gilly a small piece of grain. Summer is the time for planning, Gilly. It is the time to prepare for the needs of tomorrow. Gilly nodded humbly, looking at his violin. He realized that while music was beautiful, responsibility was necessary for survival. As the winter nights passed, Gilly promised that when spring returned, he would be the first to help the ants with their work. The camera pulls back from the anthill at dusk. In the cold, quiet meadow, a single light shines from the ants' home. Remember, children, prepare today for the needs of tomorrow. Balance your play with the wisdom of preparation.